any coastal areas fringing the Arabian Gulf, but also found further inland in areas bordering alluvial plains and deserts, such as here in Oman's Jiddat al-Harasis. These Sabkha plains are the residue from a past period of higher sea levels. It is hard to imagine that this whole vast open space was once a seabed, and later a rich marshland that supported wildlife such as hippopotamus and crocodiles. These anaerobic and highly saline mudflats are covered by a treacherous 1 meter thick, dry, salty crust, supporting virtually no life at all other than some salt-loving bacteria and microscopic organisms. Along the Sabkha's edge, water seepage occurs, in places creating brackish pools that give a chance to a few opportunistic salt-tolerant hardy plants and some desert wildlife. But the last thing one would expect to be found surviving here are fish. The surprising presence of Aphanius dispar, the Arabian killifish, illustrates the high tolerance of this species. Although a freshwater fish, they are able to withstand salinity levels much higher than even marine fish. This is an amazing and unexpected example of nature's resilience, where wildlife has adapted to enable it to survive the sunburnt, hostile conditions of Arabia's interior. One of the most common ways that wildlife survives here is to literally avoid the sun, becoming nocturnal, only coming out at night, or crepuscular, that is, only coming out at dusk and dawn. Snakes are the most adept at employing this strategy, with the viper family being particularly successful. They are the most evolved of all snakes found here, and the most poisonous. The saw-scaled viper derives its common name from the chilling sound it makes when agitated, like a saw in motion. The sound is in fact generated by several rows of diagonal scales, with minute projections along the sides of its body. Entirely nocturnal, it spends its day under any shade it can find. As a last resort, it buries itself in the sand until only the eyes are visible. This has another advantage too. Patiently, the viper can hide for a long time, waiting to ambush its prey. The horned viper is often misidentified as the more common saw-scaled viper, because through a quirk of genetics, only some actually have horns. Many rodents have also become nocturnal, such as this jerboa. Its long kangaroo-like legs enable it to cover up to 2 to 3 kilometers a night in search of food. Of all the terrestrial mammals in Arabia, hedgehogs are the most primitive. Little has changed from their African ancestors that lived 20 million years ago. Their spines provide good defense against predators, but they are poor insulators against the cold. And so even in Arabia, hedgehogs hibernate during winter. Quick to breed, resilient and adaptable, the Cheeseman's gerbil thrive in the desert, hunting for insects, but sometimes becoming prey. After injecting its potent venom into the rodent, the horned viper waits patiently for it to take effect. When the animal is fully immobilized, the snake starts to swallow the gerbil whole, a process that can take up to an hour. As the sun rises, the night's survivors hastily attempt to get out of sight. If they are too far from their usual burrow, they dig a new one. Sometimes they even try to pinch someone else's. Whilst the gerbil digs in, some creatures begin to venture out. Not all reptiles are nocturnal. Unable to regulate their own body temperature, reptiles require the sun's heat to warm their blood. The dub, the Bedu name given to the spiny-tailed lizard, is one such animal. During a night deep in its burrow, its chilled body turns dark grey. The following morning, this dark, non-reflective colour helps to absorb heat under the sun. It remains completely motionless for over an hour, virtually on top of the opening, in case it needs to bolt to safety. Once it has reached optimal body temperature, the dub's skin grows lighter in colour, reflecting the sunlight and preventing the animal from overheating during the day spent outside grazing. Despite its dragon-like appearance, this is a placid vegetarian and often shares its deep, cool burrow with other creatures. One opportunistic creature that waits until the dub has left its burrow is the desert lark, here taking shelter inside the burrow, one way of cooling down before going out to forage again. Lizards provide some very unusual examples of adaptation to life in a world of sand. When the sand becomes too hot, some lizards display slightly comical behavior. They stand on two legs, alternating them in order to maintain as little contact with the hot ground as possible. Some climb onto small rocks, hoping to catch a breeze. In the fast-growing heat, when temperatures in the desert can climb well over 50 degrees centigrade, and individual grains of sand or rocks can reach as high as 80 degrees plus. More and more animals disappear from view, but a few truly tough ones remain, such as scorpions, members of the arachnid family. These are true masters of desert survival, most preferring the rocky escarpments at the edge of the sand, where it is easier to find shade. Scorpions have an extremely low metabolic rate, amazingly able to go without food for up to a year. Even more incredible, scorpions can live for 25 years. All the water they need, they obtain from their prey's body fluids, insects, spiders, and sometimes small vertebrates. Preservation of water is vital, and the scorpion has developed a thick, waxy, waterproof coat in order to prevent moisture evaporating from its body. Morning dew forming on desert vegetation provides most birds with the moisture they need. This condensation occurs when temperatures sometimes plummet during the night, rising suddenly again with the next sunrise. Most bird species that live in the desert are capable of enduring the heat of the summer. Long-legged and distinguished by its long curved bill, the desert